Hi, I'm Thomas Sweterlitsch, and my debut novel, Tomorrow and Tomorrow, is due out July 10th, 2014. I'm honored that Penguin Books selected me to be part of their First Flights program, and I'm especially excited to be talking with all of you, librarians, because for the past 12 years, I've worked here in Pittsburgh at the Carnegie Library System at the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped branch. I was a reader advisor, so my job primarily consisted of public service, answering all sorts of questions, things you're probably asked every day. Everything ranging from someone telling me who their favorite authors are, so I would make book recommendations based on that, to people who were new to living with vision loss, so I would find resources for them throughout Pennsylvania that could hopefully be of some help. I loved working at the library, especially I loved working with the people I worked with. But I've always been a writer, and in fact, for those 12 years that I worked at the library, I would wake up extra early, usually around 5:30 or so, and stop at a coffee shop on my way to work to write for a few hours every day before I had to clock in. Later that afternoon, I would spend time revising what I had written that morning, and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is one of the things I wrote during that time. Tomorrow and Tomorrow is set in the near future, 10 years after a nuclear terrorist attack has destroyed an American city. John Dominic Blackston works in a fully interactive digital reconstruction of that city called the Archive, researching deaths that have been recorded in the archive so that he can help close out these cases that have long since grown cold. When the book opens, Dominic is researching a death he suspects has been tampered with, and this revelation sends him into the heart of a nightmare more horrific than anything he could have possibly imagined. Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a thriller. At the heart of its plot is a mystery story that expands outwards and becomes more strange and deeply personal. But it's also a science fiction novel taking place in this near future world that is at times a bleak vision of a media saturated society. Probably a close relative to my book would be a novel by Raymond Chandler, where Philip Marlowe is a knight errant in a corrupt world. That's a very similar relationship that Dominic has to his society. My earliest encounters with science fiction were definitely the movies and TV shows I watched as a kid. So things like RoboCop and Total Recall, Peter Chung's Eon Flux on Liquid Television, Ghost in the Shell, Akira, things like that. Those are definitely the biggest and longest lasting influences on me. When I went to college, I studied poetry and literary theory. Dante is probably the starting point for just about everything I write, and Emily Dickinson has had a profound effect on how I approach language and writing. As far as literary theory, I always have thoughts of people like Derrida and Baudrillard and Deleuze and Guattari and Lacan shading how I approach my fiction. I came to science fiction literature through poetry. I was reading John Cage at the time and the surrealist writers, and I was looking for things with similar energy. They led me to the collage novels of Max Ernst and eventually to William Burroughs. And finally, I found Philip K. Dick. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was probably my gateway into science fiction. I read all of Philip K. Dick's novels and short stories. Eventually, I found William Gibson, and reading Neuromancer was a revelation to me. As of right now, the authors I look to are the new wave science fiction writers or people with similar stylistic concerns. So these would be books like J.G. Ballard's The Atrocity Exhibition, the short stories of James Tiptree Jr., and there's an author named John Brunner. He has a book called Stand on Zanzibar that I think is excellent. I read a lot of mysteries. I mentioned Raymond Chandler earlier. Chandler eventually made me discover James Ellroy, and in fact, reading the LA Quartet by Ellroy is what convinced me to try my hand at fiction in the first place. I'm newer to reading mysteries, so I will happily take any recommendations you might have for new mystery authors to check out. Well, thank you for checking out this introductory video. I look forward to our live chat where we can talk about anything from books to writing to my work at the library, so make sure you sign up for that.